What's going on, everyone? Trance here, and today we're going to be talking about my Ice Warden Battleground build. I've had a lot of people ask me about this one because it's really OP right now. It does a lot of damage. It's very tanky. The only thing it's really lacking is an execute, but if you're on a team with a Magicka sorcerer, I mean, the amount of damage you're putting out is just insane. And I'll link a video, but pretty much in every BG I play, I have the most damage on this build while still being super tanky. And it's a little bit complicated to play, but I'll go over it all and I'll show you exactly how I play it. So we're on our Mage Warden right here, and I took this build and I made it from a couple other different people's builds and how they run it. So we're an Argonian, we're a Warden, and putting all of our attributes into health here just to get the highest health pool that we can. Then we're using the Atronach Mundus, and by the way, there's two versions of this build. There's one that's spec'd for damage if you're playing like deathmatch and battlegrounds, and the other spec is for like a capture the flag or the hold the relic one, where you can get a lot of health recovery out of it. But for this one, for damage, we're going to use the Atronach Mundus. You could also get away with the Mage Mundus or the Lord Mundus as well. Then the food we're going to be using is the Clockwork Citrus Fillet, and that's important because you could use the Tri-Food that gives you health, magic, and stamina, but this one I like that it gives health recovery and Magicka recovery as well, because that definitely helps out with casting our skills. So then, like I said, we're an Argonian. As far as gear goes, we're running a 5 heavy, 2 light setup. We're using 3 on the body slodes right here, the chest, legs, and feet, and then 2 light Winterborn retraded imp in. You want to have as much imp in as you can, then prismatic on as many pieces as you can fit it. Then we're running 2 heavy Scoria, a shoulder and a helm. I went infused here, prismatic. You could go infused or impen. Then as far as jewelry, we're using Winterborn. So I have 2 infused pot cooldown and 1 arcane magic recovery. I'm probably gonna end up retrading this and going magic recovery or another pot cooldown, but this works really well. And it's important to have infused pot cooldown because we have uptime on 2 different potions. So you always want to have your Essence of Speed, Restore Health up. You want to have that up all the time, but then because of the infused pot cooldown, for example, we hit our potion, we have that buff going for 48.6 seconds because of our alchemy passives here. Then after like 25-30 seconds, you have another potion you can use, and you're going to want to use your tripods. So you're going to want to cycle back and forth between the two, so you have them both up at the same time. So you have all of your recovery buffs going, and you'll see in the gameplay footage I linked, you just have to constantly swap back and forth between both potions. And the cool thing about an Argonian is if this passive right here, when you drink a potion, you get 4620 health, magic, and stamina. So that applies to not just tripods, but that's any potion you drink. So even when we're drinking these speed pots, we're still getting about 5k resources back for health, magic, and stamina. Then obviously if you drink the tripod, you get like 15k back, so it's kind of crazy. And as we were talking, the Essence of Speed just went off cooldown, so at that point you would want to just pop your Essence of Health. And you can use triple pot infused cooldown and go with this, but I like having this as well. There's a couple different reasons why. My stamina pool is a little bit low, but we're using an Ice Staff back bar and a one-handed shield front bar. So stamina to block for one-handed shield, and then because of this passive, where is it? Right here. Yeah, it costs Magicka to block, unless I'm mistaken. Yeah, whenever our staff is equipped, blocking costs Magicka instead of stamina, so you don't drain your stamina pool that much. Then we're using a sword and board on the front bar of slodes, and then a back bar charged Master's Ice Staff with an increased weapon and spell damage glyph on it. So it's important to have the slodes front bar, so you can put your dots down on the opponent and then proc the slows. It's also really important to have a charged ice staff, because one of the reasons why it's so powerful is, if you look at this right here, one of the main skills we're using is Elemental Blockade, where it says Blockade of Frost reduces enemy movement speed and immobilizes chilled enemies. If we go down to our passives here, where is it? Yeah, so we're just looking right here, Elemental Blockade for Blockade of Frost. It reduces enemy movement speed and immobilizes chilled enemies. Then if we go to our ice staff, the charge trait increases the chance to apply those status effects by 220%. So we're pretty much always going to have someone chilled and immobilized because we're using a charged ice staff. Then you could use a slowed ice staff if you don't have a master's, but to make it even more OP, we're using Frost Reach with a master's ice staff, and because we don't have a lot of spell damage in max Magicka, the damage of destructive reaches is going to be really low. But because we're using the master's ice staff, it's automatically just increased by 2,000. So it's just another dot to add to the pile of the amount of dots that are on someone. So this build is very, very powerful. So we've got our consumables that we use, and let's go over the skills for this build. So front bar, we've got Winter's Revenge here. It's a good snare, and it does a decent amount of damage, but I mainly use it for the snare, and because it's ranged, so you can, apply it over here and here. So I like it. And this next skill right here, Arctic Blast, it heals for 70% of your max health instantly, and an additional 10% of your max health over 10 seconds. It also does frost damage equal to your max health, which for us is pretty high. In BGs, it's right around 40k once you have your green balance. Where's the one I'm looking for? The minor toughness right here, maturation. That's the buff that we're looking for. So with that, you're right around 40k health. The next patch, this is getting changed. It'll still heal you, but instead of damaging, it'll stun. So I mean, that won't really change. I'll still run the skill. And by the way, this build you can definitely run next patch. It'll still be as powerful. Then we're running Shimmering Shield here. It's a really strong skill because in Battlegrounds and Cyrodiil, there's a lot of projectiles get thrown at you, and you gain a ton of ultimate with it, which means more permafrosts. Then we're running Time Freeze here. You could run if you wanted to meditate, but I like Time Freeze. It's just another stun and snare that you can put in the area in an AoE. It's a good skill. Then this one right here, Lotus Blossom, gives us Major Prophecy, and also it's a good heal actually for light and heavy attacks. So your light and heavy attacks restore 1,500 health, and then your heavy attacks restore 4,593 health. So it does a decent amount of restoring of health. Then we've got probably my favorite ultimate in the game for PvP, Permafrost. It's so OP right now. It is a stun, gives everyone around you major protection, costs 200 ultimate, which isn't that expensive, and does frost damage. Which, if you notice the theme on the build, frost damage, we're wearing Winterborn. And we're using 3 proc sets here because we can get away with it on this build and still be tanky and do great damage. So if we read Winterborn, when you deal damage with a cold ability, you have an 8% chance to summon an ice pillar that deals 7204 frost damage to all enemies in a 3-meter radius. So that proc set is not really based on your max magic and spell damage. It's just a flat amount, which means I can run max health and have high damage with this. And this does a lot of damage. It's also a snare. If you'll notice the theme, we have a lot of snares going on here. The Time Freeze, Permafrost, Winter's Revenge, Frost Reach, Immobilizes, Snares, Blockade, Snares. This build is just straight cancer for snares, and it's great to run. So, yep, those are our front bar skills on our Sword and Shield bar. Then back bar, we've got Frost Reach. We talked about that with the Master's Ice Staff. It's really strong. You can just do heavy attacks and spam Frost Reach because it doesn't cost that much with the Master's Ice Staff, and it immobilizes them. So, high range too, 28 meters. Then Blockade of Frost, another snare, and if you look, it says chilled enemies become frozen and are immobilized for 4 seconds. So, because we're running charge, that's going to happen more often than not. Then right here, Blue Betty, it gives us our major sorcery, which means we can run the Tripods and the Essence of Speed, both. It also restores Magicka, which is very strong, and The cool thing about it is it's a purge pretty much. It's a mutagen and a purge and a purify, because if you see, it says when it nets your summon, it removes one negative effect from you. So you can just keep spamming the skill if you have no Magicka, if you have slows on you, or if you have bleed on you, or I like it to get rid of the Templar purifying light that's on you, because that's really annoying. So you can just keep spamming it if you have no Magicka and just hurt yourself. Then this might be my second favorite skill for this Warden build. It's called Leeching Vines. You want to have this skill up. It's only 10 seconds. You want to have this skill up 24/7. If you read it, grow vines to embrace you or the lowest held ally in front of you for 10 seconds. The vines heal the target for about 1500 health each time they take damage, and the effect can occur every 1 second. The vines apply minor lifesteal to enemies that damage the target for 10 seconds, healing you and your allies for 684 health 1 second when damaging that enemy. This skill is really OP, and some people don't know how to use it right, because say you're in a group here, and your ally is this target skeleton. They're casting it, but their ally gets the Leeching Vines. So what I do is, it's a conal. So if your allies are in front of you, just turn against the wall and cast it, so you get the Leeching Vines. Because some people, they're casting it, but it's not getting applied on them. So just turn away from your group and cast on yourself. Then we've got our Ice Fortress here, which is our major resolve, major ward. Also gives you minor protection, again, really strong, and gives it to your allies as well, which is good. Then I don't use this skill that much, but it's a decent heal. It heals you for a little bit, and will give you again your buff here for minor toughness. So you could probably run the Psijic ultimate as well. There's a couple things you could run there. Undo, but I like running Healing Thicket, although I may try out Undo in the future. So this is the damage build that I run. You have to animation catch a lot with it to get all of your buffs up right here. Just make sure you have everything up. You just want to be constantly recasting your buffs, applying your dots, making sure your resources are good. Just casting everything. And if you have all of these skills going at the same time, you probably won't die, and no one's going to be able to kill you solo. You have too much health and too much healing. Like, if you're talking about HOTS, we have our Essence of Speed, which is lingering health, 1000 a second. Then we have our Leeching Vines coming on you. Then we have our Arctic Blast. Then we have our Lotus Blossom, which if we're just constantly light attacking and restoring resources right here. For heavy attack, you see the Winterborn proc. Snare and does a ton of damage. Then, I mean, if you need to, you can use your tripod to heal yourself. You can use Healing Thicket. Permafrost, this build is just insane. And it may take some time to farm up Winterborn. I don't know what would be a good alternative if you're not able to get it, but the build is pretty much based around it. So that's how I run the damage set. Now there's a real tanky setup that I switched it up to run with, I'll show you right here, with Green Pact. So let me just switch up real quick. And this is for like the Capture the Flag matches. So we switched up a little bit. We're running Troll King, Green Pact, and Winterborn. You don't change the skills up, but you can switch up the sets so you get a crazy amount of health recovery. So I'll show you. And you want to switch from the Atronach Mundus to the Steed Mundus. Let's see, where's the Steed? So you again, you want to keep the skills the same, but this makes it even tankier. Like if you're not worried about damage and you want to just apply maximum snare to the enemy, then this would be for you. So without Troll King, we've got 1800 health and Magicka recovery, but if we do get to low health, we've got almost like 4k health recovery when Troll King does proc. So if you want a tankier setup, run Green Pact and Troll King. But for max damage, you're going to want to have the slowed Scoria Winterborn. I mean, it's just an insane build, and I don't see any way of nerfing it, because you'd have to nerf so many sets and skills to make it not viable anymore. So I've got, that's the build I'm currently using. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave me a comment below or whatever. So thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.